Hello, welcome to this Fotospeed video with me, Tim Jones. Today we are looking at fireworks pictures, as it is a firework called Bonfire Night here in the UK, where we have fireworks to remember and celebrate Guy Fawkes trying to blow up the Houses of Parliament and things like that. So it's around that kind of time, which is on the 5th of November for us. So what I did was I thought we could look at firework pictures and night shots in general, really, but I've used some firework pictures, as you can see here on the table, to look at black points of papers and what difference matte papers, glosses, semi-glosses have on your pictures, and try and explain the whole D-Max kind of debate as well, and to look at, really, does it matter? And should we be hung up with those numbers that are presented to us on the boxes of the papers? Now, before I get into any of that though, please don't forget to subscribe to the Fotospeed YouTube channel, and also sign up to the Fotospeed newsletter on fotospeed.com, and also don't forget to download the Art of Printing, the free ebook about everything you could think of to do with printing. Really great resource to get you started and even just brush up on your own skills if you're quite a seasoned printer. So that's all on fotospeed.com as well, but I'll put links in the description below to all of that so you can find that nice and easily. Also, in the link in the description below, I have links to our US distributor, Midwest Photo, and also to Colour Europe, which is our European distributor as well. So have a look at those links if you are based outside of the UK. Okay, so enough of the housekeeping, shall we say. Let's look at firework pictures and look at those night pictures and black points of papers, and what difference we need to be aware of when we're printing between, say, a semi-gloss gloss type of paper and a matte paper, and how the black points change. So normally for kind of night shots, somewhere where there's a lot of black in, be it like astrophotography or, as you can see on the table here, some firework shots and things like that, I would probably recommend to use a semi-gloss. Normally the Platinum Baryta or the Platinum Gloss Art Fibre or Legacy Gloss. Just bear in mind the Legacy is a little bit warmer, so generally I like a high white point for blacks, so it sets off that black a little bit better for us. So you can see here I've got some shots on the table that are printed on, well, this one here is printed on the Platinum Baryta. Then I've also got the metallic gloss here as well, which is great for kind of firework shots because you get that kind of pearlescent kind of shine to a picture and makes everything kind of jump off the page for us. So that's kind of the general kind of advice that we would probably give. Now, if I just pop these two to the side for the second, because I've got some other comparisons here. And I've got this picture of a sparkler here, and you can see here I've printed on the PF Luster actually for this shot here, and it gives this absolutely beautiful, deep, almost kind of silky black to the picture. Now I've also printed on our NST Bright White, which is a very high white point of matte paper, and probably one I'd recommend to do firework shots on because of the colour, it just renders things very nicely. Now, hopefully you can see on the camera at the top here that the black points of the papers are different. On matte papers, you are going to have a more subdued black. Although it is still classified as black, it looks not as silky. You haven't got that rich and vibrant kind of silky black that you do on like a semi-gloss paper like the Luster here. It does fall, I want to say it kind of falls down a little bit, kind of intonally, and almost goes a little bit towards that grey side, a little bit. But that's kind of a little bit misleading, me saying that, because it still does measure black. It's just not as deep a black, and the density isn't the same as a luster paper like we've got here, or semi-gloss paper or gloss paper. And that's simply because the ink soaks into the paper more on a matte paper. So we have to use the matte black ink as well. So this is using the Canon Pro 1100 with their matte black as well. So that gives a really deep beautiful matte black on the paper. If you're using, say, a dye-based printer that doesn't have a matte black, this effect would be a little bit worse. So it would just really subdue that, and you'd have real trouble it would look a little bit flat, basically. Which you can see here, it has lost a bit of contrast. It's still got all the lovely detail and things in here, but you've kind of lost that little bit of contrast. Now, this density of blacks is called Dmax, and it's the maximum density of a black you can achieve with a certain paper, certain printer, certain media type settings as well, because all that affects how things look. Now, paper companies and printing companies will put a Dmax number on papers for certain papers, and it will give a value like 2.5 or 2.6 or 1.7 or something like that. These numbers that we haven't got too much of a reference on, to be honest. And we're included in this. We do it for some of our papers as well, especially the Platinum Baryta, to highlight the density of that black point that's available to us. So usually, like a semi-gloss paper is around that 2.3, 2.4 mark, 2.6 in some cases, where matte papers are around that 1.7 mark. And it's about measuring the density of black. Now, does this matter? Should we assume that because the Dmax number is high, the paper is better? Well, it depends on your photography, and it depends on the look you want to go for. Because, yes, the luster paper here has a higher Dmax than the NST Bright White here, and you can see that visually. But does it serve the photo, and does it serve the image to have that higher Dmax? And that's how you've got to look at it. Maybe, I think in this case, that we've got this beautiful silky black, we've got the kind of sparkler and the hands there and the detail, it all kind of pops off the page for us. I think that works quite well, and very well in fact. So that's probably the paper I'd be leaning towards. However, if I was using a matte paper, I think matte papers, especially when you've got a lot of black, so it could not be like fireworks shots, it could be portraits or something like that. I'll just bring these two in as well to help kind of illustrate a little bit more as well. You can see the fall off here, mask quite a lot in this shot here. Now, I think for me, the luster works incredibly well for fireworks because you've got the colour in there, it kind of pops off the page. With this shot here, I think the matte paper, the NST Bright White in this case, just flattens everything too much. It just compresses everything. It becomes a little bit dull. But however, if you can see on this shot here with the matte paper, what it does do is it changes the depth perhaps, so it compresses things, but it also changes the hierarchy, if you will, of a picture, because the black gets a bit subdued, so it's not as dominant. So actually, the fireworks and the sparkler in this case become a little bit more prominent, which I don't think works that well in these pictures, perhaps. So for fireworks and Bonfire Night that we're celebrating today, it's probably not the best paper. However, for a portrait or kind of a still life flower shot or something like that, it could work very well where you want to bring out those details and little bits and things like that. So it's just something to bear in mind. So yes, the Dmax and the black point of papers is important. It depends on the look you want to go for as well. And also the style and kind of, without getting too arty, because I get told off for getting too arty, that it's that feel you want to give to your viewer and your audience as well. If something's a little bit more subdued and not so impactful, it may not be so pictorial perhaps, and it may communicate your, I want to say intent, like I said, without getting too, your message, should I say, sorry, without getting too arty, about a scene, and it's a bit more subdued, and it's maybe they take a little bit more time to look at it rather than it being quite impactful and have a different meaning perhaps to an audience as well. Maybe, possibly, you could argue that because this is a little bit more pictorial and things, people aren't going to spend as much time as their matte paper. And that's a very argued point. I'm going to put that out there for you to debate. So yeah, I'll leave that there. But hopefully you can see how these black points change with different papers, and how carefully you've got to think about how your pictures look and how you want your pictures to look, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I could go as far as to say that perhaps the NST Bright White, it has a more fine art feel to it, perhaps. Again, I'm going to put that out there. You can debate that as much as you want. You could say that. The matte papers have this feel to them. However, when it's in a frame, when it's all mounted on a wall or something like that, then, I mean, the luster is going to be absolutely fine. The platinum baryta is going to be absolutely beautiful, as you can see here. And I do think for kind of these type of shots, say this astro work and things like that, then I would probably go for like a platinum baryta or something. It's going to hold detail in the shadows beautifully for you, and also give a punch to the scene that you want as well. Matte papers, they could, because they haven't got that dynamic range so much in the blacks, you could lose a little bit of detail in there as well. So it's just something to think about and something to bear in mind when you're thinking about picking a paper. It's not so straightforward as, oh, that's got a large number on the box, that one, then that must be a better paper. Yes, it will give you this silky black, but maybe it's not right for your image or the feel or the idea you have in your head. So, I'm not sure if that's been helpful today. It's probably a little kind of different view on black points perhaps and DMAX and how we should think about it and how we should be looking at picking the right papers for shots that are at night with a lot of black in, or have black backgrounds, etc. like that. But anyway, hopefully you can see here that on these luster prints and things like that, I mean, this one here, it just springs off the page. I wouldn't print this on a matte paper. It would just dull it too down, and it just wouldn't look as good, to be honest, and we want that color as well. Although matte papers are beautiful for this type of shot, I think, for me personally, I think that luster semi-gloss type of paper, that platinum baryta, is absolutely beautiful for it. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to finish, and I hope that's been useful, as I always say. And please don't forget to subscribe to the Fotospeed YouTube channel and sign up to the Fotospeed newsletter and download The Art of Printing, which has more about DMAX and black points of papers in there. So please have a download of that. I'll put all the links in the description below, as well as our US and European distributor as well. So I will see you next week, and bye-bye.